Yo, what's good YouTube? It's your boy Truth here, back at you guys with another video. But before I get into this video, I would like to thank everybody that has hit the follow button. Special shout out to everybody, a salute to you guys. Thank you guys very much. Also, if I could have you guys hit the like button so that way this channel can get to other people on YouTube, it would be helping me out in a huge way, and I would be very grateful and humble with you guys doing so. Now, with that being said, we're going to get into the topic on where I ended up going to county jail, and I spent 14 months in the county jail. And what I was charged with initially was criminal homicide. And those of you guys that are new to this channel, I was charged with criminal homicide because my mom, she was beaten and stabbed multiple times, 3 times to be exact, and I ended up taking an individual's life in the process of my mom being stabbed and beaten. Now, with that being said, I was 19 years old at the time. I'm 38 years old now. I have grown into a much more strong-minded and positive person since then. But when I was younger, 19 years old, I was not really fully mentally developed, and I did not think rational at all. Pretty much all my moves was never thought out. I didn't think anything fully through. I just reacted on impulse, I would say. But with that being said, so I was charged with criminal homicide. I ended up turning myself in, and when I turned myself in, I went to the county jail to turn myself in. They had an officer come pick me up from the county jail and take me to the police precinct to interrogate me as far as what had took place of the night of the murder. Now, I didn't want to speak with them. I didn't have anything to say to them other than I wanted a lawyer. And that was simply the fact that I didn't want to say anything to incriminate myself and make things any more worse on the situation that I was already in. Now, they ended up booking, so they got upset. The cop got upset. He slammed his book on the table, and it was the detective, I should say. And I stood there for a few hours, and then shortly after that, the same cop that came and picked me up brought me out of the precinct. And as I was walking out, I had news cameras like right there in my face. I'm going to show you a clip that I have. Well, it's actually a picture that I have, and this is a picture of me walking out with the officer, and this officer took me to the county jail. Now, once I got to the county jail, they booked me in, and they took me to this little holding pit, and I was able to call my father. I wasn't able to call my mom because my mom, she was in the hospital. And, you know, I got to speak with my father. He was a huge support for me while I was in there. But I remember I sat down, and this officer had came up to me, and he happened to know the individual that I had took his life away. Like, he knew the guy that I had killed. And so this guy comes up, this cop comes up, correctional officer I should say, comes up to me, and he was like, "Hey, so you're the one that smoked Panalacus, huh?" And I was like, yeah. And he was like, good for you. He needed to die. Like, he was a rat anyways. And like, I was kind of like taken back by this guy's comment. Like, I didn't know what to think about that. And to kind of give you guys a little insight, so I'm gonna show you a picture of what they posted on the news, and it's pretty much a mugshot, my mugshot and his mugshot of the guy that I had killed. This is the mugshot right here. Well, so after they had booked me in, they ended up taking me into a facility inside the jail, and it was maximum security. And in maximum security, the lockdown hours for that is 1 hour out every other day. So you only get 1 hour every other day. Now, here I am, 19 years old, getting placed in a maximum security. It was very nerve-wracking for me. Like the setting, so it was a one-man cell, and I can't remember how many cells was actually in the cell block, but when they came and got you for your hour out, they have a cuff port on the door, and the cuff port is where it's just a little hole about this big that they stick a key in. They open up the cuff port, they lift it down, they have you they cuff one hand, and then they run a chain around. So they'll run a chain around your waist, and then you'll bring the chain around, and you have to give it back to the cop, and the cop will take that other chain and link it to the other cuff and cuff your other hand. So you're cuffed like this the whole time. And then they have pretty much, it's a dog leash, to be honest with you. They have a dog leash attached to the chain. And then once they pop your door, they'll slide the leash through the door and then like grab it, and then they'll walk you out. Once they walk you out, they'll have you turn around and lean up against the door and lift one foot up and cuff your ankle. They'll put leg ankle cuffs on you as well. And that's how you get to spend your hour out while I was there. And in your hour out, all you get to do is, they have like a little day room area where you can watch TV if that's what you choose to do for your hour out. You get it to go to the shower. If you're going to use the phone, there's a railing that's close to the phone, and they'll actually cuff you to the railing, and they'll leave you there. And when you're done with your phone call, they'll come get you. Also, they have like a mini yard. They call it a mini yard, and it's super, super small. Basically, it's like a box, and all you can do out there is, it's a cement wall, I should say, all the way around. And they have, if you look straight up, like, it's like you could see the sky and stuff like that, but I mean, there's like a fence up there, and that's pretty much it. And it's just cement wall, and all you could do is just pretty much walk in circles in the mini yard. Like, there's nothing much you can do when you're locked up in that type of setting. But while I was there in this facility, there was this guy. I remember there was this guy. He comes in and he's literally limping, and he has like a boot on his leg. I remember he was a big white guy, to be honest with you. bald headed. I remember him in a cast. So he was in a cast to boot, and he was shackled up the same way that I described. They walked him to his cell, and then like a couple days later, somebody in the section was like, hey, that's that guy right there that they brought in. Like, that dude's a cop. And like it kind of threw me off. Like, what is a cop doing in a county jail in my type of situation? And so I have this story on this guy. I actually looked it up, did my own research, and found the story. And so those of you that don't know, I live here in Utah, Salt Lake City. And this situation to this individual. But before I go into any further, so this guy, his name was Art Henderson. He was a police officer. And I remember while I was in there, like, everybody was kind of like doing catcalling, like basically just talking shit to the guy, and giving him a hard time because he was a cop. And I remember this night specifically, it was April 20th it was April 20th from what I've gathered. But so on this night, one of my friends, he had threw a nutty bar out. And if you guys don't know what a nutty bar out is, it's a snack. Like, it's pretty much candy. I'll show you a picture of what a nutty bar is. But anyways, so one of my friends in there that I got to talking to, because that's all you can pretty much do is talk to other people while you're in there, while you're pretty much yelling through the door to conversate with people. So it could get pretty loud at times. But he had fished. So in jail, people fish. They call it fishing. And what you do is take a piece of paper and you'll fold it up, and you'll take a piece of toilet paper and kind of wrap it around. You'll wet the toilet paper, like flat enough, like super flat, like thin. And you'll either take string from a sheet, wherever you can find string from, and it's far and like it's hard to find string. You either you can use your clothes, like the sewing in your clothes, in your scrubs, to find string, and you pretty much tie it around this piece of paper and toilet paper that's wet, and you make a fishing line out of it. And what you do is you slide it out of your door, and like you gotta slide it, and you hold on to the string, and you'll be able to fish in whatever's thrown out there in the tier. So right before my friend had threw out the nutty bar, he had told that guy, like, hey, why don't you just kill yourself? Because the guy was like really curious on what we were doing. And my friend was like, why don't you kill yourself? And so, I mean, we all kind of laughed at the time. Really didn't think nothing much of it. I remember they were doing clothing exchange. So that means where the cops come in with the laundry basket, and they go to each cell. They'll go to each cell, and they will they'll change out your clothes, your scrubs that you're wearing. They'll change out they'll give you a towel, they'll give you underwear, socks, and a t-shirt and pants. And so they were doing clothing exchange, and we all, like everybody that was fishing for this nutty bar, So fishing in jail, in prison, is prohibited. Like you're not supposed to do it. You will receive disciplinary action, maybe loss of visit, loss of phone calls. The only thing that they can't take from you is receiving letters or sending letters out. That's the only thing that they can't take from you. They could take your rec time from you, but we really didn't care at the time. Like, I mean, that was the worst of the worst place. We were just trying to find something to do to preoccupy our time. But anyways, as they were doing clothing exchange, I remember the guard, she came in as she was doing her walkthrough. So they do an hourly walkthrough, on the hour, every hour. And so this guard, she starts walking, and I remember she got to Arthur's cell, and there was like commotion, like super panic commotion. And I'm like, what's going on? You know, like what's really happening? You know, it's like, that dude okay? Like, I really thought to myself, like, what's happening here? You know? And then next thing you know, she got on the radio, and then here comes, like, I swear, like either 25 to 30 cops just running inside the section. And they brought these magnetic, they were magnetic covers to cover your window. And so they started putting magnetic covers on everybody's window that was inside the section. And they didn't cover mine completely all the way. Like the window that was on the bottom, on the floor by the door, wasn't covered. Like there was like a spot that was like visible where I could see out. So like I literally got on my hands and knees, and I'm like looking like out my window and seeing what's going on. And I just remembered, like, they went inside Arthur's cell and they pulled him out. And as they were pulling him out, like, he was unconscious. And I remembered, like, they were giving this guy CPR, and like he was just pale, like he was blue, literally blue, from what I remember. And next thing you know, like they took him out, and from later on what I gathered, he ended up passing away. And like it kind of hit me in a way, like, dang, man, like he really did that. Like he took his own life. Like come to find out, he ended up tying some sheets together, and he hung himself. And yeah, it was crazy, like to be in that environment, and like to have a cop in there in the section, and then to have all these violent criminals telling him to kill himself and stuff like that. I could only imagine. Sometimes I sit back and I think about that, like if I was in his situation, like, would I really want to be in a situation where I was incarcerated and like I potentially put a lot of people in jail? And like, would I really want to be in jail around these people, and knowing that these people's true intentions is to hurt me? And so I thought to myself, like, man, I really wouldn't want to do that, And so I kind of felt bad, like after it was said and done, like I legitimately felt bad. And I'm gonna read you what they have on this guy. So this is a picture of Arthur. But what it says here, it says Provo. Clyde in an inmate jumpsuit. Art Henderson sat alone in a cell. For 47 hours, he had nothing but concrete walls to keep him company. Every 2 days, he was allowed to leave the cell for 1 hour to shower and make a phone call. That was Henderson's life in maximum security at Salt Lake Metro Jail. Alone in a cell, Wednesday night, he hung himself with a bedsheet. Henderson, the former Lehigh police officer accused of shooting his estranged wife's boyfriend before having a shootout with Lehigh police officers, was miserable in jail, and his attorney Ed Brass, said his attorney Ed Brass. So, from what I gathered, is he had shot his estranged wife's boyfriend. And come to find out, this guy was a convict. The guy that he shot was a convict. His ex-wife left Arthur left him for a convict. And man, like, it's kind of rough, right? He expressed his inability to handle the conditions under which he was incarcerated repeatedly, Brass said. In jail, Henderson had a lot of time to on his life. A pending second divorce, his wife's new relationship with another man, the revocation of his certificate to be a police officer, and if convicted of charges against him, the possibility of life in prison. The charges in the 4th District Court stemmed from a snowy day in January when he chased Natalie Barnes Henderson and her boyfriend Craig Thimble down a Lehigh street, firing at them. After ramming the couple's car, Henderson shot Trimble twice, then turned his gun on Lehigh police officers arriving at the scene in squad cars. So Arthur literally shot at his estranged wife's boyfriend, striking this guy, and then also shooting at his fellow police officers, like the people that he worked with. The rampage ended when officers took him down with shots to the knee and foot. Thoughts of that day's event and the events that came before and after may have just been too much for Henderson, Brass said. My suspicion is that this is the product of some sort of overwhelming depression, Brass said. He loved his kids so much. I think he must have been in some dark place that didn't allow him to stop and think about the fact that his kids would lose him. After the shooting, Henderson spent a night at American Fork Hospital, then was taken to the Salt Lake County Metro Jail, where he had been since. He was not taken to the Utah County Jail because he had previously worked there as a guard. Let's see. Upon arrival, Henderson was evaluated for previous suicidal tendencies, and Salt Lake County Sheriff Sergeant Paul, can't pronounce his last name, he was put on suicide watch, but taken off that list in February. Then healthcare personnel believed he was safe to move out of the jail's health service unit. Henderson was assigned to maximum security because of the severity of the charge and because inmates often retaliate against incarcerated former police officers. He had been charged with 5 counts of attempted aggravated murder, one count of aggravated assault, another of domestic violence related criminal mischief, and 3 counts of unlawful discharging of a firearm. Officials did not notice signs of distress this week. I'm sure if he had expressed some sort of suicide tendencies, he would have been immediately taken to the medical health unit, he said. Even Brass, who talked with Henderson a week ago, said he didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. I know he's been extremely depressed for some significant period of time, but his demeanor has always been largely the same, he said. Officials found Henderson unconscious in his cell around 11:05 p.m. Wednesday. He pieced ripped bed sheet together to make a rope. Jail officials immediately began CPR and called for backup. Henderson was transported to St. Mark's Hospital and pronounced dead almost 35 minutes later. Now, to remind you guys, this was very late. It was probably like around 1 or 2 in the morning. Officials had last seen him 45 minutes before during routine checks. Henderson had pleaded not guilty to the felony charges, and trial was scheduled to start in July. Brass said he was preparing a large defense based on Henderson's statement indicating he had stopped taking antidepressants shortly before January 27th incident. Brass said the people who stopped taking antidepressants abruptly often suffer severe side effects, end up in worse conditions than before. Henderson was not himself that day, Brass said. Brass said Henderson told he couldn't remember some critical details of the chase, shooting, or shootout. Our feelings in this case was that, again, we were just getting into it, and there were mental and chemical conditions beyond his control that led him to do some things that were out of his control, Brass said. What we were going to do was to raise a mental health defense based on his state of mind in the removal of medication. The Lehigh Police Department, where Henderson worked for 2000 to 2004, expressed condolences. Obviously, we feel for the family during this tragic time, said Lehigh Police Sergeant Jeff something. It's a tough thing to deal with. A family member said Thursday she wished Henderson could have received the mental health treatment treatment he so desperately needed. Now, what I wanted to say, it said that he didn't want to lose his kids, but this guy literally shot at the car with his 7-year-old daughter inside the car, in which I ended up finding out later on. It's a tragic situation for this individual, and I got to see what happened to his life inside the county jail, and where his journey ended. And it was the beginning of my journey. Now, to kind of fill you guys in on this county jail, it was basically like a mental hospital within itself. Like, there was another guy that was in there. He went by the name Snowball. And this guy, he was like a black Sideshow Bob. I'm going to show you a picture. This is pretty much what he looked like. He was pretty much like a smoked out Sideshow Bob. This guy had no teeth, and like, he used to try to clown on me and try to get me rallied up. But he was basically like a cell soldier. And a cell soldier is an individual that will talk crap behind a door and get you rallied up, say the most hurtful things, the most insulting things that he could possibly say. He even said something about my mom at one point to get me worked up. But like, there was no way, no physical way that I would be able to get around to this guy or do anything physical to this individual. It's just based off how this county jail was built and how we were able to move around in the section, being shackled and stuff. There was no physical way. But this guy would literally throw his feces and urine on the correctional officers, and he would smear it on the wall. Like, it was just a bad environment that I experienced. But I'm gonna have some more stories for you guys about county jail. But this is one story that did stick out with me. And thinking about it now, you know, it's sad. It's sad that, you know, this guy's life ended the way that it did, and that he had to experience those type of things throughout his life. You know, going from an all-time high as being a police officer, or how some people might view police officers. I know some people have hate against them. At the end of the day, I look at it as they have a job, they have a family to provide for, and, you know, that's what they chose to do. You know, other people choose to commit crime and do other things to provide for their family. So I get it. I've lived, I can honestly tell you guys this, that I've lived with the most dangerous, calculated individuals in the world that won't give two thoughts about trying to stab you, trying to hurt you, or won't even, they'll actually, like, they won't think twice about doing those things. They'll just do it. But yeah, this is the story that I had for you guys. I will be coming back with some more stories. I hope you guys stay tuned, and I hope you guys enjoyed this story. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. I would love to hear from you guys. I definitely reach out to everybody that does leave comments. And again, thank you for your guys' support. You guys are helping me grow this channel, and I couldn't do it without you guys. So thank you guys so much. And with that being said, may God bless, may God be with you guys, and peace out for now.